All right. Thank you, Gene Epstein and Richard Wolff. We're now ready to do the audience Q&A. We have a couple of microphones set up. Please walk up to them. I am going to be, I realize that each of you probably on some level view the other as a Nazi. I am going to be, which is wrong on both counts, but I'm going to be a Nazi. I'm going to ask you to state a question. We don't want to hear a lot of speeches. We want to hear questions. Direct them to either or both people, debaters. So let's go, and we're going to start right now. Go. First question.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Jacobi. I'm from Germany, native German, and it took me 35 years and winning the green card lottery for learning what libertarianism is. I studied social science in Germany, taught it.
Thank you. What's the
question? And I would like to know from Mr. Wolff why he thinks that it was not possible for me to learn about libertarianism and tyranny of the majority, even though I studied social science and taught it for 7 years at high school. Yeah, I'm now 38 years old and it took me moving here. But you learned it obviously before you learned about Marxism before you even left high school, because if you know about the term when you start studying, I would say it was much easier for you to find out about the other side than me.
Okay.
That studied social science and
Thank you.
taught it.
Okay, thank you. Richard, please use a microphone. Hold one up. And I guess it should be on. Could you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the question was basically,
What was
he was
that question?
calling BS on the idea that you couldn't learn about Marxism.
And the question was that I really could, or that you want to know why
That
I
you have.
couldn't?
It took me 35 years basically.
Okay, so
He took a long
he's
time,
actually
and
saying-
you took a very short time.
He's
Why is
saying
that?
libertarianism is harder to learn about than Marxism in today's
I
society.
never indicated the number of years it took me to learn Marxism.
Okay, Richard, can I
I am sorry it took you a long time, if that helps.
do you feel like there is not a free flow of information in contemporary America?
I mean, it blows my mind that you could even say that.
Okay.
I give
All
you,
right, thanks. Okay.
Let me explain. Economics departments, which is what I know around the United States, is where you might learn Marxian economics. You have to go, first of all, the vast majority of economics departments in the United States have no person in them who knows of or teaches a course in Marxian economics. Number one, they don't have them at all. Number two, the vast majority subscribe to a basic kind of mainstream economics that's called neoclassical economics, which is the dominant tradition. There is a small dissenting group that are called Keynesian economics because of something that happened in the Great Depression and the new development of a critical perspective that has nothing to do with socialism. There's tremendous fights between the neoclassicals, who are the majority, and the Keynesians, who are minority. One of the very few things the two groups can get together on is excluding Marxists. That's the way the American economic system works. And since it's the economics departments of our universities that train the politicians who deal with economics, the journalists who do economics, and the people in the top reaches of business, you have a solid kind of mask, if you like, of uniformity in which the kinds of things that a Marxist economist talks about are bizarre for them, not because of their complexity or their newness, but because they have no experience whatsoever in dealing with these things. And that has been true for the entirety of my experience in the American academic environment, where I've been a professor all my life. It is a systematic exclusion of the kinds of ideas that I represent that makes students to this day not encounter it or if they have a lot of fortitude, to have little study groups on the side at their own expense to learn this kind of material, because this country remains afraid of dealing with that kind of thinking and that kind of tradition, even though the literature for it is massive.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
I
Richard,
wanna
and wait, Gene, I'm sorry, hold on. Richard, can I ask, does it complicate that scenario at all, that we have at least one major candidate for president, Bernie Sanders, who identifies as socialist and has a large turnout? I mean, the idea that socialism is somehow suppressed seems like a reach, to be quite honest.
Bernie Sanders is the first candidate in 75 years not to disown that title as part of the requirement not to commit political suicide. And you want me, the first time in 2016 that he dared do it, breaking that taboo, I'm supposed to pretend that the one person so far done it in 75 years undoes what I just said? You got to be kidding.
Okay. Hey, and Richard, I'll look forward to the first time a major party candidate actually explicitly is libertarian. Gene, do you have a comment?
That's what I completely agree with Richard. Is this on?
Yes, it's on.
It's on. It is on. Okay.
Yes, it's on.
Thanks. Yeah, I completely agree with Richard that that there's a lot of mind rot in the academic departments on economics. Most of these economists basically want to run the world. They want to pretend that economics is a branch of mathematics. It's a waste of time for the most part. In the age of the internet, don't let school get in the way of your education. There's no excuse not to inform yourself about a whole range of things, including Austrian economics, with which I identify, or Marxist economics, with which Richard identifies. The internet offers just an incredible amount. Lectures from Richard Wolff himself on the internet. I appear regularly on Part of the Problem, Dave Smith's show. So you want to catch that to learn economics the intelligent way, that whatever you really learn, you teach yourself anyway. Don't let school get in the way of your
Thank you.
education.
And it might be interesting, we're going to go to the next question, to think, by my count, I think there's 2 Marxist economics departments in the country. There's one at Notre Dame and one at UMass Amherst. There's about 2 Austrian programs of note, maybe 3. So as Dave Smith pointed out, we're all losers in this room. We have that in common. We're in the same club. Okay, question.
Let me just briefly correct it. There was at Notre Dame a department. That program was destroyed about 8 or 9 years ago and doesn't exist. And the program at University of Massachusetts, where I taught, has ejected most of the Marxists that were there. There were half a dozen. And so it is now really better described as a Keynesian or left-wing Keynesian program.
Thank you.
There is no Marxist department in the United States. There are only scattered
You
Marxists
build one.
here or
You
there.
get those workers building up from the ground. Let's go. Okay, question. Sir, no preamble, we don't care where you're from. We're all strangers here. It's the French Foreign Legion. Just ask the question.